yeah, and you don't stop, and you won't stop, and you don't stop, and you won't stop.
What the fuck happened? Am I dead? God? Satan? Sejik? No? Okay. Well, I guess the power just went out. Well, I think I had a light. Fuck. Fuck. Ow. Shit. Fuck. Ow. Okay. Figure out something here. I stumped my toe. Oh yeah, okay, so the power went out, that's nice. The fuck? Yellow! Yeah, this is me. Yeah, wait, oh, calm down. Oh, hi, yeah, hi, Mr. Landlord, yeah, hey. Yeah, I have indeed noticed that you cut off my power. What's going on? What? No, I paid my bill. I always pay my bills. I always pay my bills, always on time. No. What? No, dude. I live in 69D to the left. Yeah, that's where you cut off power to, yeah. The dude you're looking for is my neighbor. He lives in 69D to the right. Yeah. No, I haven't seen him. What? You haven't been paid in 3 months. I don't know, now that you mention it, no, I haven't seen him. No one has seen him for 3 months. Oh shit, I can't really help you, dude. Yeah. Can you put my light back on? I'm busy contemplating whether or not I should kill myself or not. Yeah. That it's a webcomic thing. He hung up. Oh, okay, that was fast. Not in the trash can. Fuck. Hello? So now he's found a way inside my apartment. That's just great. As long as it's in the trash even more than ever before, and the stalker has found a way inside my apartment. That's wonderful!
So let me just come right out and say it, this will probably be the last episode of Yosh I ever do. Is it because it's way longer than I thought it was? Yes. Is it because it's boring as shit? Yes. Is it because it actually gets kinda sorta maybe okay? Yes. Is it because I want to review a bunch of other comics on the cat box? Yes. Frankly, there's a bunch of reasons. I'm also gonna come right out and say it, no, I did not read the entire thing. And you might say this makes the entire review moot or something, but let me remind you, I didn't just read 10 pages or 100 or 200. No, I read over 500 pages. If you're at a restaurant and you get a burger, you can take a bite of that burger and not like it. If you then say that the restaurant don't know how to make burgers, that's not a good review, because you just took a single bite. However, at the same time, you shouldn't have to eat all of the burger for you to be allowed to complain about the taste. If the burger isn't to your liking, you don't eat 99% of it and send it back to the kitchen and demand a refund. We all know such people exist, and you people need to either stop or go play in traffic. If we continue the analogy here, with Yosh I've basically eaten everything on the menu. Kicked the door down to the kitchen, eaten the chef, the food, the tables, the silverware, and several of the guests, while there are still several other restaurants of this chain scattered around the globe. There's so much, but it's not like I'm not able to make an idea of what I've just consumed. Yosh is almost 2,000 pages long. And if your comic isn't very good past the first 500 pages, then that's a bad comic. Remember, a comic or a story in general has to enthrall its readers. It needs to make each page turn interesting. You want to make the reader follow along with the story out of interest rather than just, oh my god, this bullshit better start making sense soon or I swear to God, Nia, I will find a reason why people like you, oh so help me God! I hate to sound like a broken record, but one of the things I keep saying is that there's tons of comics out there. And if you can't catch your readers, that's a failure of you as a writer. Cause chances are they'll just go on to the next one that appeals to them more. Heck, making sure your viewers are invested enough to keep reading during the first pages is almost as important as the actual plot itself. Like David and Liz Lilly said it, no hook, no fish. And if you're doing a terrible job at hooking a fish at the beginning, a fish is not just gonna hook itself out of pity. Long story short, is it fair to review this comic now? Yes. Could it be fairer? Absolutely. If I didn't have this show or had friends to riff at this comic with while reading it, you honestly think I'd have read past the 100 mark? I think I'd rather die. So, just to treat this as any other review, despite having read some of it already on camera, the quick rundown is that Phil lives together with a cat lady called Kate and a homicidal maniac penguin with a serious jello addiction called Pen Pen. These three, along with their friends, seem to only function to go to cons and do wacky shit. It turns out that the world of Yosh didn't always have furries, but they appeared during an event called The Weirding. The dumbest name of anything ever. But anyway, it turns out that Phil, the protagonist, is some magus who had the power to destroy all the other magi reincarnated, and his power is that he's too stupid to get hurt. Anyway, the whole plot is a bunch of weird forced pairings as well as a grand adventure where Phil and his friends tries to take down the Magi and save the world. At least that's what I get it, cause them going to cons and doing stupid bullshit takes up about as many pages as the serious segments. So it kinda leaves you guessing what's the focus and what isn't. I will say this right off the bat, the story isn't super creative, but I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a lot of different and interesting takes on the adventure we've seen a million times before, where a chosen one has to combat several mighty villains who all represent some sort of element, despite his less than imposing figure. The things that work for this comic is that between all the tropes and wishful fantasy, there are nuggets of different takes on this super stale adventure. Plus, as for the humor, it's nice that Philip isn't above ridiculing himself. Humor is incredibly subjective, so when I say I don't find this very funny at all, that's entirely on me. However, am I really the only one who quickly grows tired of the same joke being used over and over again, with Phil constantly being the guy who doesn't seem to be aware of what's going on and having no sense of importance? Like, this joke gets used all the freaking time. It's like the go-to joke for Philip. Don't make me start telling you a joke about a pizza! I swear, I'll do it! Hold me, I'm gonna do it! Really, Phil's writing leaves a lot to be desired. Coming from the horse's mouth himself, the way he tells that time has passed is by having the characters go to cons.
I use conventions of the comic to tell time.
That's what he.
Really?
Oh shit, that makes sense!
You can tell how many years have passed by counting the amount of conventions they've gone to, with the exception of some of the first ones, because I had 2 comics in a year.
So every time they go to a con, a year has passed. While the idea is noble and cute, it's fucking stupid. Most of all because, do you have any fucking idea how many cons there are in a single year in America alone? I mean, just fucking look at this thing. There's over 40 anime cons this year alone. And even if this was the case, did you know this was how he established the passing of time? Fuck no! I had to tell you that just now! And do you know why you didn't know? Cause the characters never talk about it either. They never really go, oh remember last year when we were at that con and that stupid thing happened? Plus, the passing of time seems so weird and so out of place sometimes. Like if a year truly passes between one con and the next, you wanna know what happens? They go rescue Phil and Kate from that base thing and then they find a new apartment. That's it. In the grand spanking span of an entire fucking year, the only thing that Phil and Kate do is that they go to the base, they find a new place to live immediately after coming home, and a few days later they go on a date. Even with the saving someone from a secret base taken into consideration, I got more of an interesting year than this already. And I'm writing this in February and all I've done is played Street Fighter and watched JoJo. Also, while streaming us reading the comic, I couldn't help but raise my eyebrow a little when I initially called Philip out on him showing Phil and Kate on a date, and all that happened was they went to the movies on one page, then went out to eat on one page, and that was it. Philip's response was the following. What the fuck happened? How did the date go?
Pretty okay.
They went eating and saw a movie and then now it's... What the... Why did we see that? What's the purpose?
Ryder just wants to see Phil get lucky.
I was gonna say that.
They went out, they had a good time, and now it's over.
Okay.
Good answer. That's a good answer.
I like how Ryder really wants so much context, but it's just that simple.
Situation. They had time and it's over.
I'm a simple guy. I just want, if you start A, I want to see B and C. I want to see, what are you trying to tell with this? Not just, oh, they went to a movie. Okay, they did that.
Where's 1A?
Not really.
They had a good time, and that's it. And now we move on.
They spent time together, so they can have other dates later, and eventually they might become something more than just people who date.
Setting up.
People who date.
Now, I know what he means. You can't just have two people confessing their love for one another and become a couple without showing the build-up. I understand that. Heck, that's my main issue. All we fucking see is 2 pages worth of them going to the movie and them eating dinner together. And the focus is somewhere completely different than these two interacting and growing closer. But okay, fair enough. Surely this is just a stepping stone until Phil and Kate become a couple, right? Wrong. They fucking hook up the night after. I think. Maybe another year passed, I don't fucking know. What the fuck? There's no deepening of relationships here. We don't see them interact. We see them in the same room interacting together with something else. While eating dinner, Kate interacts with a kid that pulls her tail, and in the movies, all we get is Kate commenting on Phil crying during a movie. To herself. You know you fucked up when a porno has a better build-up to a relationship than this shit. Holy shit. If the comic was at least interesting, maybe I could pardon its insane length, but despite a lot of weird gonzo shit happening, nothing really seems to matter. It's time for another important word for writers. Agency. Agency, if you look it up, is an action or intervention producing a particular effect. For our purpose, it is when something happens, what does it lead to? Like if M. Bison succeeds in his plan, it means he's going to take over the world, and that in turn means everyone will live under a fierce dictatorship ruled by a power-hungry madman. In short, we know what's at stake. We know this is something we do not want to happen. Thus we feel a sense of importance from our heroes who try to stop him. Yosh doesn't really seem to give a fuck about this. Like it never nails home the importance of the catastrophic events that might happen, or does happen. Even the weirding, the event that turns several people across the globe into maniacal magic-wielding animal people, feels more like a goofy side quest in a video game. There's no agency to it. It happened, people became animals, and some got bullied. Oh no, call the National Guard. I mean, at one fucking point, demons are unleashed on the planet and no one seems to give any fucks. There's also no agency in Phil, cause his main thing is that he cannot die. So he and his friend are just putzing around, cracking jokes, while they are clearly in mortal danger and you never get the feeling of threat or harm. There's no real sense of importance, it all feels trivial. If you want to get a sense of this done right, just go to the playlist next to this video and go a few videos back and click my Anarchy Dreamers review. Now here you got some mother humping agency, my friend. This event happened and not only did specific schools get created to teach the people affected by the event how to live with their new powers, but special police and guards were established to keep them under control. And not some secret organization bullshit either. So you look at that and then you look at the weirding and then you wonder why you should give any fucks about anything. Now, I'm not saying you have to show several hundreds of people dying or destruction of buildings or whatever, but give me something! Show that these things lead to something rather than just being silly stupid adventures for the sake of shit happening. Let me make the importance of agency blatantly clear for you guys. Something lacking agency means it's lacking importance. That it has no importance means it doesn't matter. That it doesn't matter means it's wasting your time, and if it's wasting your time, it's basically a filler. And we all love those, right? Lol, JK, no one in their right mind enjoys fillers. That said, it's not like you have to have everything happening have life-changing consequences. Sometimes small little things is enough, like for example how I could respect and understand why Philip had the scenes where Phil and Kate went on a date. Even if nothing really happened, it had the agency of leading to them growing closer together. Albeit horribly conveyed so. If you are a writer, ask yourself what the scene you are thinking of will add to the table, no matter how big and small. If you can't come up with anything, you're basically creating an event just to have shit happen, and your readers will feel like you've wasted their time. You also want to make sure it's not too obvious sometimes. Like one of the main things of any murder mystery is how well they hide the agency of a scene. You might think a scene is just padding or comedic banter, but within that you might later find out that this is where this small nugget of information was conveyed that helps the detective solve the mystery. Long story short, Philip, if your strips don't have any agency, what's making them more important and more canon than the fillers you sometimes do? Think about that. Philip Brown is a busy man, I know this, he said it himself, and judging from how much he uploads and the fact that he's working on an all new comic too, you gotta give the man credit for keeping his nose to the grindstone. With that said, the worst enemy this comic has is its early pages. The building blocks that makes the bottom of your skyscraper here that you're time and time again adding floors to is made out of papier-mâché and pucky. Now, a lot of negative things can, and deserves to be said about Bittersweet Candy Ball, but the whole idea of catching people up to speed with a page or two, or maybe a few comic strips, was a genius move. Yosh needs this exact thing. I would rather floss my taint with barbed wire than read the first pages of this comic again. And I doubt I'm the only one. As it is now, what Yosh is living off of is the same readers who are stuck with the comic from the get-go, or some super rough-necked sons of bitches who managed to clutch it out. No casual reader would wanna go from beginning to end with this comic. In other words, the readers this comic has are a finite number, and only very few newcomers are going to pick it up, I think, because of how terribly the early pages are. Which is a shame, cause knowing Philip, I know it's gonna be great. But freaking look at me! I literally get paid for doing this shit, and I could make it to page 500 at best. Now, I've sprung this idea to Philip a bunch of times, and it seems like he knows where I'm coming from, but he simply doesn't have the time. So, here's where I come with a crazy suggestion. Feel free to ignore it if you want. Why not open up a small challenge or a tournament of sorts and have people make a good catch-up thing for you? I mean, you got fans and readers who wanna see this shit succeed, surely. Heck, I'm not gonna throw words in the mouths of my viewers, but I'm pretty sure many of my subscribers would love to help. Let's not forget that the Webcomic Relief has the best community on all the internet. I love you! Now, for my biggest complaint about Yosh, I have prepared a little sketch for you guys. See if you can guess what my issue is. And now I'm walking into the kitchen. I have a glass in my hand. I open the tap. I get some water. I fill the glass with water. Now I'm going to drink the water. Now I'm drinking the water. And it tastes great. And now I'm going to turn off the camera and make some outtakes. Okay, that's great. Okay, how to start this one. I've always said that instead of giving up halfway, you should at least fucking try. I, and I'm sure others as well, are 10 times less likely to shit on your work if we can see you tried, rather than when we can see you just gave up and took the easy way out. Hence why Nick Simmons is a bitch! Well, I'm sure Philip tried and eventually just said fuck it and stopped trying several times when making these 500 pages. Oh sweet merciful God, did he stop trying? Like, let me prove a point. I won't be complaining or making fun of this picture here. Like, sure, it doesn't look great, but fuck, I know what's supposed to go on, and I'm being shown it rather than told it. In other words, Philip tried. There's an attempt here. You know where there isn't an attempt and where I am going to complain and make fun? Every fucking time someone finds it necessary to explain literally everything that's going on. No matter how big, no matter how trivial, it has to be talked about. Given it's not your old 80s shitty Japanimation dubbed explanation, but it's still talking about everything they're doing. It gets boring, it gets tedious, and it just fucking sucks in the media where you got freaking pictures to tell it with. If you're not gonna use the fact it's a freaking comic, then why are you not just making a freaking book with pictures? Also, pro tip that's a little outside of my area of expertise, but if you did in fact do an actual book instead of a comic, it'd still be the worst way of conveyance conceivable, holy shit. I'm gonna go on blind faith here. Philip stated that some setups he'd make would only get explained about 1,000 pages later. And I'm all for getting a setup and then first the payoff long after. It gives a sense of planning and structure, and you are not just out half-assing and writing stuff as it comes along. And I trust that he truly does pay off on the things he promised. So a massive compliment from here that there eventually started becoming some structure to the whole thing. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to find a story nowadays where it's not obvious that the writer just had a weak idea of where the plot was going and just threw shit at the wall till something stuck. At the same time, however, it does make me worry. Most of all because a setup for a long-awaited payoff is fine, but only as long as you remember the setup and has kept it in the back of your mind. There has to be this weird, odd, nagging feeling at the back of your mind that demands explanation. If you keep that for far too long, you're eventually just gonna assume the writer forgot about it. Therefore, you also need to make sure it's not just a small thing that can be explained as a plot hole. Does Philip do this well? I don't know, I couldn't clutch it out to see it, but instead of just being the asshole who goes, he didn't explain himself despite I didn't read the full thing, I'm going to just give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he did. The stuff he did say was going to get explained was not trivial plot hole stuff and things we honestly wanted to know. such as the reason why the demoness didn't get her name said out loud. As much as I've shat on this comic, trust me when I say it's one of the comics I feel good stuff coming off. Another thing in the writing is that Philip has some interesting concepts he likes to play around with, which stands out in stark contrast to the otherwise rather weeby, convoluted, stupid bullshit that is the rest of this comic. Stuff such as using magical terms when describing robot stuff, having buildings use impossible space, and even the whole idea of speaking a name of a demon allows you to control it are all super clever and well executed. It's a fresh blow of air from haha, I'm the ninja with the lightning powers, or I blow out ice, I guess. It's also nice when we finally see modern military and technology clash against magical stuff, which is why it's such a crying shame when magical shit just gets dropped at the side of the road. Yosh is basically a comic that gives you a lot to love, but you have to fight to get to it. All in all, Yosh's writing is a mess. It has a lot of anime and con references to get some people who have been part of it interested in the comic, but you'll quickly find how little it explained on the pages and how much you'll have to have Philip there to actually explain for you to have a chance of following the plot. The writing to me screams set pieces with no real idea or how to deal with them or getting from point A to B. The adventure is epic but with no agency. The fight scenes are cool but with no stakes. The subplots are there but uninteresting. The characters' interaction are plenty, but they are forced and poorly handled. Yosh is a tragic collection of good ideas and having the heart in the right place, but this is a comic that's made almost solely by the heart and little by the brain. Philip clearly wanted to make a comic for people to enjoy, but never really sat down and studied how to convey it. Which is why I can't really say I hate this comic. This is why, if you have the balls to go past the 500 pages, I think you'll find something great, because Philip is clearly learning as he goes, and it's not like he lacks the creativity or passion. Yosh is basically the little toddler who has made a macaroni painting of mom and dad. The heart is there, the effort has been put in, but ultimately... The fuck are you doing, little Timmy? This looks nothing like me! Fuck you! For once, what I want to talk about the least is the art. Most of all because I know it is the stuff that grows the most, and even from page 1 to 500, you see such a dramatic change that it's almost a completely different comic. And just looking at the later pages, it's like night and day. So I think shitting on the art is like the least fair thing to do, especially seeing I can just look at the later pages and see that it's fixed. Oh well, maybe not everything. So instead of being the asshole that I am and bash on the earlier strips, I'm gonna look at the modern stuff and review that, unless I state otherwise. My good friend Zach brought it up on stream and it has kinda bugged me since the get-go, and it's that Yosh has remarkably boring faces. They all seem super familiar. They feel too safe, there's no real variation to them. Like, just look at the freaking fill on the side of the comic. This is the same face used for talking, shock, anger, and worry. And Kate here looks like she might be surprised, talking, or just happy. Let's be honest here, Yosh tries so bad to be a manga, and one of the most common traits of manga is how extremely they convey their emotions. So why is that the thing you didn't choose to copy? Also, the framing of these frames is just so boring and bland. It's always just someone standing or sitting and talking. You either see them from the front, the back, or the side, even during fights and other action scenes. Every conversation seems to be a case of shot reverse shot, where you more or less just jump back and forth between showing who's talking. You hardly ever see both at the same time. Plus there's no real thought put into the frames. Time for me to show you something you have probably never seen before. This is a Danish movie called Kongekabale. In this scene, a journalist is interviewing a rather important figure. We already know this gentleman to be a threatening and powerful man. Whenever we see him, he takes up a lot of the frame and the camera is slightly tilted up to look at him. He feels big and powerful and takes up a lot of space. When they sit down and talk for the interview, the camera switches back and forth in the same shot reverse shot that Yosh does. But here it's telling us something. Here the journalist and the other guy are on equal footing. I couldn't find the complete clip, but near the end of the interview, the journalist asks a very hard question, catching the other guy off guard. From this point on, the camera is looking slightly up at the journalist and down on the guy he's interviewing. The roles have switched and we are being told that from how they're framed. Now it's the journalist that has the upper hand. Now it's him that needs to be respected or feared. This is the kind of stuff you can do with your frames. Do something with it. Don't just show the front of two people as they go back and forth. That's boring as shit. And I don't mean you have to have the camera all up in their butthole or something, but do anything. Even if it's just a talk, you can still tell a lot with it by how you frame it. Use that to your advantage. Most of Philip's art can be summed up with the same two words that could be used to describe everything in both the writing, art, and the characters. The first word is safe, and the next is schedule. These two words are the bane of this comic. Philip wants to do a lot. He wants to update his comic, 3 times a week, and that's just this comic. Let's not forget about his other comic too. So he doesn't have time to take chances and do something different in case he has to scrap the entire thing and start from scratch. So he plays it safe, and it's been doing that to an almost worrying extreme even in the new pages. You don't see anything big and flashy, maybe except for this. But it's so normal now to just see Philip draw 2 characters talking and all you see is their fronts. No one is moving around in the scene, no one is interacting with something or seems to gesture when they talk. The same safety continues with the designs. Look at this, everyone's just wearing either a top or a colored t-shirt. Surely if you're an anime fan you'd have an anime t-shirt, right? Or just, I don't know, one that isn't just one single color? Like, make it stripy, color the sleeves, put on a webcomic relief design that you can buy from TeePublic now for a bargain price. Or heck, do something more simple, like add a second layer of clothing, give them a cardigan, a hoodie, a vest or a jacket. Accessorize, give them a hat, a bracelet, a watch, a necklace, or at least fucking a ring, considering you got a married couple in your fucking comic. I mean, the appeal of this comic, to me at least, is the whole idea of modern day youths battling ancient magic shit. So it just feels like a waste to not hit home on the whole modern day thing. It's safe because Philip has a schedule which unfortunately makes it boring and uninspired to look at. This is something I know for a fact that Philip got the hang of later in the series, but it just bears repeating to really nail home how much I think this comic needs that sum up segment I was talking about. Basically, the earlier pages of this comic had a weird problem where you would several times have a hard time understanding what was going on with a scene. Now, I'm gonna give Philip some slack, cause fight scenes are typically hard and panicky to do, and it's hard to make them easy to follow. The problem, however, is that it is also outside of action that these problems arise. Actually, we see this issue a lot of times when normal actions have to be done. Which kinda makes me think this is why Philip defaulted into having his characters explain everything, rather than showing it. Again, another safe action. But the worst perpetrator of all is the early pages where Philip fucks up the most basic rookie shit ever, and doesn't know how to order his voice bubbles. Which completely fucks up the conversation, making you stop and piece bubbles together till you eventually get a sentence that's at least a little coherent. And I can understand a few slip-ups in the same frame, but when you add a bubble in a separate frame to then go back to the first frame, how the fuck did this seem like a good idea? It should also be stated that his voice bubbles are still not super on point at the later strips either. Kinda need to work on that, Phil. Holy shit, do you need to work on that? Speaking of problems with following a conversation, I think if you truly wanna, grab Philip by the neck and rub his nose in something like you do with a dog when it's peed on the carpet to let it know it's not something you should do, just make Philip look at the earlier pages of Yosh. Here you'll see exactly why it's not always a good idea to just show people from the front talking with someone all the time. Cause way too often in the earlier pages you will have, like I pointed earlier, people talking to themselves, to each other. People don't seem to look at each other when talking, and half of the things they say seem more like they just talking out loud, hoping for someone to hear them, like what a super autistic person does. It feels weird, it feels goofy, it feels stiff, and most of all, it feels lazy. Of course, Philip grows out of the habit of this in the later pages, at least with what they're saying actually being a conversation rather than a monologue. But if you remove the brackets of the frames, it's all still just people facing the proverbial camera talking to themselves. If you can show how the person talks to someone, not by their words but by their actions, you can tell a lot about the tone of both the scene and the words. Which is a good thing in a comic where it's all written down and it's not, said out loud for you to hear the tone. Really, Philip gets a lot of shit wrong with the art, but it's definitely, like Les Lindas, the best thing about this comic. Everything that's not a person tends to be pretty well made, the backgrounds are often rather pretty, but most stunning of all is when you let Philip play with lights and flares. Scenes such as this where the eyes glow and you see the lighting hitting the folds of the clothes and even colors the dust around them looks fucking sick. There's a lot of terrible shit with this comic's art, but ultimately the groundwork is there, and it's actually pretty decent to look at. It's by no stretch of the imagination something inspiring or a 10 out of 10, but it's pretty good. I wanna see Philip take more chances, cause I feel the only thing holding him back is himself. Also, this is a super small extra thing, but it bears mentioning that the Yosh side has improved dramatically in how it looks. I mean, before it was just this super ugly and bland void, and now it has backgrounds and a more interesting color scheme, all fitting with the blue tone that Philip was going for. And hey look, an archive button. Well, how about that? Listen to my advice once, good on you. Listen to my advice twice, good on... Wait, this isn't an archive button. This is just a screen that shows what's where, and you don't even have any context for what's what. First picture is Phil on the phone and you don't get to see what he says. The second one is the only sorta good one because it shows Kate with friends. The third, fourth and sixth one are all fan service, and the fourth one is Phil getting stabbed, but due to the nature of the comic, we do not know whether that's a serious thing or not. And neither of these pictures actually take you to the pages they represent. As a matter of fact, they all take you to either the same page, for whatever reason, or page 1. And it should also be stated that according to this, I am in fact reviewing all of Yosh, because apparently nothing of interest happens after page 500. Seeing Philip doesn't bother including it, and pressing on the next button takes you to the first page. Also, the gallery button doesn't do anything. Just click on it and nothing happens. This is gonna sound harsh, cause it is, but I've never experienced a comic where new readers gets the shaft as hard as this comic. Now, I know we live in a day and age where certain words have lost all their original meaning. Words such as the word literally has been raped, blown up, buried, digged up again, fucked, poured acid on, and then dug down again. Thanks for that, Leafy, by the way! Another word that gets thrown around with careless abandon is the word misogynistic. Like the moment a girl is slim, have a firm butt and big boobs in this day and age, people like to say it's misogynistic. Like our dear Anita Sarkeesian, who complained about the girls in fighting games were not overweight. If only they did some sort of sport or exercise that slimmed them down. Anyway, the point I'm making here is that I don't like throwing this word around so much. I even think I made it through all of Les Lindas without saying it. But here I just gotta call it dude. Like, I'm not a girl. Shocker, I know. So, it really isn't my place to say this, but this comic to me feels misogynistic as fuck. Kate is there to be the love interest and show a lot of skin. Miu falls head over heels the very first time she sees Tom, which is enough to reboot her entire system. Nami of course has to fall for Phil in some regard too.
The Bang Master!
No!
And is also ambiguously gay, cause yay, girl on girl. Toyoko only almost seems to be put in this comic to wanna ride Shiden's dick. Ryuko seems to only be there to put on weird sexual outfits. Blue is so stupidly forced fanservice-y gay
that it's freaking cringeworthy, and the demoness, well, she is a walking, talking cheesecake factory. Really? The only girls that doesn't have some weird role that seems solely there for the pleasing of a man is Lian and Naoko. The robot girls happily follow Shidan's orders to wear skimpy, slutty outfits while he's chilling around in a pool being serviced by them. The girls don't seem to have a character worth speaking of. It's all, I was put here to date this person. I was put here to be the homosexual character for lesbian action. And I was put here cause I need to worship Shidan. Like, you didn't make a character here. You made some objective and then slapped some traits and quirks on the things doing these objectives. The female characters only serve as an extension of their male counterparts. Notice how hardly none of the female characters seem to be their own person? It's like if you asked who Kate was, the go-to answer would be, she's Phil's girlfriend. They are all just objects or story devices clad in sexy or cute clothes and put in provocative positions for the male characters to bounce off of and the readers to jerk off to. Trust me, I'm not about to throw such complaints around if it's not almost offensively blatant. Also, Philip has talked about this himself and defended himself, and you can choose to watch the stream and decide for yourself what you think. But I personally will forever say that A, holy shit, is Phil a self-insert? B, holy shit, was it a bad idea to call him Phil if you didn't want that assumption to be made? And C, holy shit, did you do a poor job separating yourself from the character if it is indeed not a self-insert, Mr. Philip Sage Brown? There are 1,000,002 male names in the world. Shit, some even have numbers in them. And yet you chose to go with Phil, the obvious shortening of Philip. You also chose to have this character, who's not a self-insert apparently, act out scenarios you've been in, have the same experiences you have, and enjoying the same things you like. Heck, even Phil's friends are based on your friends. Philip, buddy, I've said it before, I like you, you're a cool guy, and you're clearly ready to own up to your mistakes. We've seen that firsthand. But do not fucking come to me and tell me this isn't a self-insert. It may grow out of it, it may not be intentional. Shit, I don't know, cause I don't know you personally. But the only time I've had an easier time finding a self-insert is when Leoyan thought it was a good idea to add himself in his own Two Kinds fanfic. Also, let's not forget about the whole real-life debacle. The second quote-unquote main, really hard quote-unquote character of this comic is no doubt Kate, but I challenge any and all of you to give me a character analysis of her. Like, if you've seen the streams or heard what I've been saying in my reviews, or heck, even read the comics yourself, please, by all means, tell me what character Kate is. Cause unless your answer is the walking embodiment of anime tropes and wishful girlfriend material, I'm going to call all the bullshit on your face. Kate just irks me, because it feels like I can't really talk about her without feeling like I'm attacking Philip directly. Because she honestly just feels like the perfect girlfriend that the main protagonist can then end up with.
The Bang Master!
No!
And when you start being an asshole like me and assume that Phil is Philip's self-insert, it just gets super sad. But yeah, just freaking look at her. She is hot, I suppose, and seems to have all the exact same interests as Phil does. In fact, it's just a female version of Phil with a sprinkle of not complete retardation added on top. There's so much about this character I just can't stand. Most of all because a lot of it is so internally inconsistent. Like, she's been bullied for so long about her outward appearance and she wishes to hide her furry features, but then she happily goes along and shows herself off at major cons as well as use her animal features as a part of her costume. Sometimes she wished to hide it and other times she's proud as can be about it. Like, it makes no sense. I seriously think that the reason there is this clash is because she started out as the perfect fantasy anime girlfriend. And then when Philip started adding plot and it clashed with Kate as a character, he called up Soulcat and took some writing tips from him. And then he looked at the comic, he took a deep breath, collected his thoughts, put the pen to the paper, and said,
fuck it.
To talk about the relations between Kate and Phil is about as compelling as talking about the relationship between say, Kirito and Asuna from Sword Art Online. Because it's very much the same. It's basically, they are a couple now, shut up, look at my waifu! There's nothing to build anything upon. They're just both wishful thinkings of a self-insert bagging some hot broad with the same character depth as a bucket of paint. I mean, Phil and Kate met cause Kate was being emotional about being bullied, and then you have Philip Sage Brown on a forum being actually kinda creepily into cat girls.
It's like one of my Japanese animes.
And so she just, I don't know, moves in. Maybe it gets explained in more details later, but so she moves in, and despite them rarely to never really showing any sort of moments or affection for one another, they just so happen to both suddenly spark emotions for one another coincidentally at the same time. And this is where I return to the whole thing I was talking about before. Kate is not a character. She's simply the girlfriend role. I mean, just you try doing the Plinkett character test on her. Like, tell me about her character without naming her job or her looks. You'll find most things you can say about her clash with something else. I mean, heck, Mio, a character that is almost literally nothing, is more of a character than Kate, simply based on the fact that she's having a happy-go-lucky attitude that she sorta sticks with. Speaking of Mio, she's a chobit. Straight up. Again, I can hear someone furiously mashing at the keyboard exclaiming how I'm wrong, but I still insist this is from where Philip would just dress his characters up like something for the sake of a reference, and then afterwards not exactly remove them from this dress up, and now it's his design, I suppose.
This is mine. I'm taking this with me.
Can I have it?
No, fuck off! It's mine!
Alright. Lightning round. And... stop the timer! Sheena is a rich robot creator, Leon is a Coachon Lee, Nami an accent is not a personality, Ryoko is shy I guess, Toyoko loves Sheeran, Blue is a lesbian, guys! The demon is flirtatious, Pimpin is an addict, Axel is short-spoken, and the demon inside is his head is evil. Chazo is questionable in his motivation, even his Phil's brother, now coexists, and Tom's a ninja! Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the deepest character analysis you can possibly get out of Yosh. Fuck, I need a Pepsi or some shit. The writing is a 4. This is a kinda sorta maybe interesting story, but it's conveyed terribly. The tone is all over the place and it doesn't know how to convey the necessary information, and the agency is completely lost on it too. The art is a 5. I won't lie and say it's terrible, and for all intents and purposes, some of the things Phil does is pretty okay. But even on the later pages, the anatomy is stiff, the line art is shabby, and the designs are terrible. The characters are a 2. Back to the drawing board, Philip, you fucked this one up. Maybe Phil wasn't supposed to be a self-insert, but that's what he ended up as. And maybe you didn't want the girls to just be objects or roles, but that's what they ended up as. I've had headaches with more character than these. The final verdict, and once again I have to stress that this is for the first 500 pages of Yosh, is a 3 out of 10. This is a bad comic. It shows that no matter how much your heart may be in something and how much you may be passionate about a project, it's not gonna win on that alone, as disheartening as that may sound. It's clear it gets better, but it has a long way to go, despite almost being 2,000 pages long already. With all this said, I wish Philip the best with his new comic artificial incident that I'll be leaving a link to in the description. And I also just wanna give him super kudos for joining us in the stream, riffing on his own comic. I think that speaks volumes about this guy, and I have so much respect for him. I'll see you guys at the next webcomic relief. Take care.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I don't get it, you may be wrong. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. T-boots are getting to the passion. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. ないものならね最高潮だ。36, What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Just like that. If everyone is not special, maybe you can be what you want to be. You'll own me, you're not for me. You can't tell. Your life is your own, okay? So come back to tonight, from tomorrow, okay? Let's let no cause to end it soon. Calvary, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 89, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99.
And that is Yosh in the bag. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Before we get into talking about the patrons, I'm going to give a shout out to Hugo Junstrand, the amazing, awesome dude who is making my title cards. He is now also doing animated covers, and if you haven't checked them out, please do so. I'm going to put a link for him in the description. Also, I don't think I got to mention it well enough in the past video, but we actually got the Webcomic Relief merchandise now, both t-shirts and cups and all that stuff. So if any of that has any interest, please, by any means, go check it out. Plus, there will be a sale coming out here in April, so you stand to save a bunch of money there. Let's talk about the amazing people who helped sponsor this episode. Everything is a little different this time because we have now changed it so that we're now, withdrawing money every month instead of per episode. And we've changed the tiers and stuff. So I will like to apologize for any inconvenience and any errors that may happen. Trust me, they are by no stretch of the imagination anything that I was actually going for. But first of all, we have CloudyDaze, and CloudyDaze wants me to push the Maple Weapon Collab free. And Cloudy wants me to push that because he is a part of it, and where he and a bunch of other animators beats up a sandbag with the weapons from the game. It should be released sometime in April, so keep your eyes open for that. Amocin. Amocin is working on a webcomic called Druids, which is a mature themed fantasy comic in the world of Warcraft. If you're interested in a more mature story from that world, go check it out. Nicholas Knudson. Nicholas doesn't want me to push anything, so for now, just know that he is the realest OG. Hitori the artist. Hitori is doing art streams every Sunday and would happily love some feedback, seeing they are also working on a webcomic that is coming out soon. Go check out the streams and help Hitori out. Alex J. Alex J is working on Death's My Bitch. Teddy finds himself in an awkward position when he accidentally kills the Grim Reaper and he has to take up the office of Death. Now the new Death, he finds out that Grim Reapers are more human than he thought. Iaika. Iaika is working on a webcomic called Star Whisperer, which is about people with special powers and various personal issues. It also looks fantastic, so go check it out. Harper Edwards. Harper is working on a comic called Color Me Pink, and oh my god, am I a sucker for this comic's art style. It's a story with action, drama, and a little bit of romance. Samantha Shakespeare. Samantha is working on a webcomic known as Champions of Siphon. A group of heroes are destined to defeat an evil tyrant, but they can never get along with each other. It's available to read on Taptastic, Tumblr, and DeviantArt, and is always open for feedback. Please check it out. Noah Gayson. Noah wants me to push a comic called Not Drunk Enough, which is a thing I can often relate to. A quick repair at a huge corporate lab during a late night shift should not have sent Logan into a hellish landscape filled with monsters. But it looks like Lady Luck decided to give him the middle finger. Logan would like to give one back. And I also just want to give a shout out to Sebastian Vanborg, Joe Barber, Thomas Nostar, and Drika of Adrian. And also a super huge thank you to all the lovely people that you're seeing right here. If you want to support the show, change my life, and make it so I can live off of YouTube and entertaining people, please go to my Patreon. Here you can donate anything you want every month and you'll get a ton of awesome rewards for it. Just go to www.patreon.com/Riser, and that's with 2 I's. If you don't want to support the show financially, at least think about liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or sharing your favorite Webcomic Relief episode with your friends. I'll see you guys at the next Webcomic Relief. Take care.